Up, everybody? Welcome back to Strange New Show. Keith and Mike watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Today we are talking about Season 1, Episode 6, Lift Us, where suffering cannot reach. We have been suffering on the East Coast as we are recording this now. The smoke from the wildfires in Canada have been taking over all of us. It's been pretty amazing. If you're watching this in a month, you won't remember this ever happened. But it was quite the event. We're a little bit better here in New Jersey, in Philadelphia. I bet you're pretty bad today.
Doesn't look too bad, but it still smells a little smoky out there. But yesterday was like the weirdest. There's been wildfires in California that have drifted over and down before.
Yeah, it's like Tuesday for them.
Yeah, but it's never smelled so much like just campfire, and that was disconcerting. But you know what? We were lift up. The low pressure system's going to move on out. We're going to get some air movement. It's going to all be gone by the weekend.
And
everything's
and for
fine.
all of us,
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. And for all of us here in the States who are complaining about there's smoke everywhere, Canada's on fire.
Yeah.
So they're having a worse day. So our thoughts for our friends up north. All right. Well, we have an exciting episode to talk about today. We've got a lot to get into. We know Pike maybe got into something. So there we go.
I did my best Pike, Keith, and I wore no undershirt today, so that.
So you get the
TNA.
Get the silver. Are you? I just bailed on what I was gonna say. I just like barfed in my own mouth just a little bit.
I definitely do have some silver chest hairs, which I've begun to notice. In fact, I had to shave my beard because I couldn't look in the mirror, and there was so much gray. It was a lot was happening. A lot's happening, Keith. I'm dealing with it. I'm going through it. I'm aging.
I'm dealing with it. Okay, I'm dealing with it. That's where we're at today. Well. But before we get into this episode, we have to talk a little bit about last week, Spock Amok, an episode that everybody seems to have enjoyed.
I'm so glad.
And these are last week's viewer ratings. If you would like to have yours included about this episode next week, you can leave a YouTube comment below with a rating from 1 to 100 self-sealing stem bolts. And we will include you in the average. If you want us to read your comment, just leave a little super tip there, and we will happily read your comment here on the air for tens of people who watch this show. So our viewer ratings last week, JD came in with an 88, Worf's Boot Shivs with an 89, Jason Moe coming in hot with a 96, which gives us an average of 91, which, Mike, makes you me. Makes me the winner.
Wow, what a D.
That was more like incompetence than meanness, but sometimes the it blurs together. But so there was I was a 94, you were a 95 next week. Can't wait to find out what we're gonna do here on Lift Us, where suffering cannot reach, which aired. We're gonna talk about the episode now. Which aired. Well, because I moved the patron part to a little bit later in the show.
I didn't click the thing,
Yeah. Which aired on June 9th, 2022, which is tomorrow. Will be a year tomorrow.
Air date.
The top song.
We really planned this. We've nailed it.
We really have. God, we're so good at this.
Yeah, we're getting there.
I'm fighting my ear holes, whatever you call those things. All right, so the top song, beaming into your ear holes, is once again As It Was by Harry Styles.
Mike? It's not the same as it was. As it was. This is on my running mix, so I often hear it. I'm like, beady jappy dooby doo, beady body booty boo.
The top movie was Jurassic World Domination.
What a dumb movie.
You know what? Here's the thing. Of the Pratt trilogy, I thought the second one was the worst. Jurassic World Domination was, of course it was stupid.
Yeah.
But it knew it was stupid.
Yeah,
and
but they
if
tried
you
to
just
do that whole thing with
let's do
it's
this.
the mosquitoes.
It was it was locusts. Well, that makes sense.
Right, yeah, whatever.
It was locusts.
It's a bug thing, whatever. Who cares?
But at least like a whole bunch of crazy stuff happened. In the second one, I barely even remember what happened. There was like some sort of an auction, and most of it took place in a warehouse. Like, come on, go blow some stuff up.
I don't give a prat. You want some good dinos? All you gotta do is watch Prehistoric Planet Season 2 on Apple TV+. I'm telling you, that is some good stuff.
Oh, okay.
It's David Attenborough doing a whole planet Earth, but it's prehistoric, and they're using all the CGI, so it's better, in my opinion. I don't need to see the dinosaurs eating people.
I kind of want to see them eat people.
Okay.
I kind of want to blow stuff up. Anyway, in the hard news, the Weekly World News headline from 20 years previously: a maid puts panties in an actor's soup to make him fall in love with her.
So on Deep Space Nine, we had like something about fantastic fatties, and now we still there. Remember that it was like it was alliteration about like fatties, and it was really disturbing and uncomfortable and really didn't age well. But now we're making fatties by putting panties up in your soup.
Okay. Yeah.
I want my panties back, panties back, panties back, panties back, panties back, panties back. I want my panties back, panties back, panties back, panties back, panties back, panties back. Keep taking. I want my panties back, panties back, panties back.
Caffeine.
That worked out so much better than it had any right to.
Oh, honestly, based on the picture there, like, you don't need to feed me soup. Like, I'm in.
That guy looks grossed, yet not so grossed out.
Like, I
still don't. I might have to like find that and read that article because I don't quite get the premise of the promise. You know what I mean?
Also, I did not look at that smaller one. We're not going to mention it, but holy shit, that's what the hell?
Panty
All
recipe.
right, moving.
Sicky Senior gets
No,
girl.
don't even read
oh no! Abort!
Abort!
Take back my whole weird song now. That one just makes it creepier.
Holy crap! I did not notice that until just now, and I'm like,
I want my innocence back, innocence back, innocence back, innocence.
Nope.
Audible.
Mike, any chance you want to take back the last 30 seconds of your life?
Tulsa 2! Swap it to a run play.
That means cut this part.
We didn't write it. We just re-aired it.
You just oh, Jesus. All right, anyway, I apologize to literally everyone in the entire universe.
What else is new?
I've given you a clean moment to cut back in and say
no,
director of
we
this
have rules.
episode.
The rules are, once you say it, you must obey it.
Oh, God. This episode was directed by Andy Armaganian, and this is who did one episode of Disco, and this so far, but you never know. They tend to keep working. This episode was written by Robert Wasserman, who wrote on Spock Amok, and Bill Wolkoff, who wrote on Ghosts of Illyria. And before we hit everybody's third favorite jingle about trivia, we need to thank our patrons who are supporting our little show here on patreon.com/K&M, on which you can get all sorts of extra bonus nonsense. This week we dropped the first hour of Star Trek something, the new video game. Okay. And we had a really good time playing it. We're going to try to play a little bit more later this week. That will be patron exclusive on patreon.com/K&M. Mike, who's patroning these days?
Yeah, you guys will get to watch part 2 before part 1 even gets to YouTube. Brian Kimball, Beersock, Wyatt Eldridge, Casey Clark, Jason Moe, Bren Joshua. Hey, Bren, happy anniversary. Andrew Hayes, Jorge Navoa, and the Mysterious Wharfs, Big Ol' Boot Shivs, Charles Babaj, Richard Coleman, welcome back. CRM Productions, Nikolay Ivanovich Lobachevsky, Delusions, when? At noon. And if you want to send us stuff in the good old snail mail here in the USA, please do. Get your name up on the list. JD Mate, Colin Dagan, Chris Mitchell, that's CRM, Pat, and Josh Cronin. Why don't you pip and pop on that list 2 times?
And you're only sending it to the USA. You know, almost half of those folks have sent it from places other than the USA.
You can join the team, become a producer on all of our shows. Hundreds of views, patreon.com/K and
If we're lucky. All right, now it is time for, these newer episodes don't have a lot. But what's there is interesting in a little segment we call...
Oh, no. Oh,
the quietest.
No. This, of all the segments...
The most silent bumper. If you're watching it on YouTube, like, boy, you got a visual feast. But if you're just listening to the podcast feed...
We must!
Now, Keith, waste your time with trivial trivia. Okay. So, speaking of our friends across the border up north, this episode, at least the exteriors, were filmed on Parkwood Estate in Oshawa, Ontario. They actually went out and filmed it on location, which is why it looks extra cool going through the hedge maze. And I think this is interesting, and now that I've seen the episode, I totally see how and why. This script was based on an unused script from way back in the original series. Which is crazy to think that they dug into the archives and pulled out this idea from the 60s. Pretty interesting. So the guest stars on this episode include Lindy Booth as Alora, Dan Jeannotte as George Samuel Kirk, Ian Ho as the first servant, and Hughes Madhav. Oh Jesus! Need to start all over again. You know what? I gotta look it up. Hold on. We're gonna get this right because it is important to get people's names.
Well, while you look it up, Keith, one thing I found really interesting in this episode is that even though we're only in episode 6, which is past the halfway point, it's funny to me that they're still doing previously ons, because the previously ons are just summarizing the entire season of the show, which is only 5 episodes. But
Right.
They spend good amount of time doing it. They gave glimpses of each and every plot line as it stands, which is kind of interesting, but feels a little unnecessary. But who knows?
All right, here. Hold on. We have it. We're gonna find out. Madhavji, Hughes Madhavji as Elder Gamal. Sorry about bungling that to begin with.
Well, he's only the kid's biological father.
Well, true. But we strive to do better and not mungle people's names.
What does he mean by that? I just do the banging.
What?
When he said that, I was like, well, what does that even mean? I'm just biologically, and I was like, oh, he just does the banging.
Just does the banging. That's true. That's true. Who's the mom?
She's not a doctor, so I guess she's not important.
Apparently not. All right. So what do you say we hop into our screening room?
Oh, that was it. That's all. That was what.
That's it.
That's
it.
That's that. Okay.
That's all there is now.
Okay. I gotta get. Oh no.
Now
Oh no.
Waste your time
Oh boy.
with trivial trivia.
No, that's wrong. That's wrong. Couldn't be wronger.
No, very wrong. We messed it up the first time. Now get used to listening to that.
I won't give it away, but I am. All right, let's just roll. Oh, that made me laugh. That made me laugh. Okay. Are we in?
All right. So,
What's
in
happening?
our teaser.
Keith! No, absolutely
What?
not. Look
What
at
is
you.
happening?
Look
What's
at
wrong
you.
with me?
You're just
Oh.
you're over the gibbet.
Mike, what have you eaten today?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, it could be the problem.
So, in our teaser, the Enterprise is in the Magellan system, where 10 years ago, Pike was almost killed by a pulsar. But today, it's just a routine survey. Interesting, they don't really follow up on the pulsar thing.
Yeah, I thought maybe this was where he first saw the vision or whatnot, but no.
That was on Disco.
Yeah, they don't follow up with it at all, really.
No.
I mean, they talk about it a little bit post-coital, but not much.
Yeah, well, there you are. Uhura runs into Pike on the turbolift. She's on her security rotation with La'an and is getting her butt kicked. She arrives on the bridge and La'an is already annoyed. She gives security lesson number 2. Security never takes breaks. We continue Uhura's, hopping around the ship, showing what everybody does, which I get. I mean, basically, from a writing standpoint, they're making Uhura the audience. and introducing everybody to all these other characters sort of quickly and what they do. I don't mind it. But they get a distress signal. A ship is under fire from a larger ship, and the larger ship shoots it with cables, possibly looking to capture it. Pretty cool that they went sort of lower tech as opposed to a tractor beam. They used these cables, and we can see perhaps there is a bit of a technological disadvantage happening there, but it also looked cool on the screen.
It did, yes.
The Enterprise arrives to save the day, and Pike hails the attacker. He tries to tell them to stop, but the larger ship fires at them. But it turns out their pew-pews are very weak. The Enterprise tries to disable the ship carefully, but Uhura, at tactical, accidentally blows it out of the sky. So maybe don't put the trainee...
She did apologize.
She did, but she killed all of those people. So, I guess they beamed down. But point being, if you're going to be in a firefight with the Enterprise, maybe don't put the intern at the pew-pews. But, that's what happened. The shuttle that was being chased hails them and asks for help. And Pike and Number One meet them in the transporter room. Interesting little thingy that I noticed here. And I understand why, that they didn't wait to beam them in until Pike and Number One were in the transporter room. But if they were like in distress and the ship's about to blow up, you'd think they would have, gone right away, right?
Yes.
But they didn't. So a redhead named Alora recognizes...
Shake, Alora! I've used that before, and I'm trying to remember when, but I think it was that. Wasn't there an episode in Deep Space Nine called like Melora or Meloria or something?
There was Melora.
That's got to be where I used that joke before.
So, it was so good the first time. Give it another try.
And you could tell from a distance the way they gandered that they had...
Oh, this was not subtle.
Mm-hmm.
That she recognized Pike from 10 years ago when he was a lieutenant, and hell yeah, they banged. I got that just from subtext.
Mm-hmm. Your suit is so yellow.
Yeah, well, because when he was a lieutenant in a cutscene, you can see him wearing red. So now he's all yellow now. So in Act 1, Alora is there with a man and a young boy. She's all saucy with him, and Pike is uncharacteristically thrown by this. Possibly because he's definitely the boy's father. That was my guess at that point.
Yeah, no, I didn't think that. I just thought maybe, she had seen his tricorder.
Oh, she saw the tricorder. She saw the whole thing.
Rebecca Romijn is given great face, by the way.
I mean, if you can't give her the tri 5.5, at least give her the tricorder.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
You should try harder.
Well, maybe that's how I can get to 6. Oh my god.
Feed him some panty soup.
Ew. Great. Yes. So, the man takes the boy to the infirmary, where M'Benga is reading to his transporter daughter. She asks him how long she's been in the buffer, and she says a long time. And he beams her out without telling her. And she mentions the fact that you beam me out without warning me all the time. And he says it's to make your transition easier, but I don't know. That seems like an interesting ethical question there.
I actually thought it at least solved an ethical question. My fear, and we talked about this the first time this got raised, was that he wasn't telling her at all. She didn't really know what was up. It was just this perpetual storybook, and she just didn't know that she was biffing in and out of existence. So, But Keith, maybe you can explain this to me, because one thing I'm missing in this plot line, even though I am very much invested in it emotionally, is is she already dead and he's like keeping a facsimile of her around?
No.
To save?
No.
So
she's
you
not
can
dead.
take matter and distill it down to its particles and store it almost like Ghostbusters when they're in the thing?
You're storing the data, which is then rematerialized into matter.
So theoretically, if God forbid my buddy Keith was like gonna bite it, I could basically pause you where you're at and save you in a little diet.
Save as.
Yes, save as until we figure out a way to like use AI to generative fill you back.
I think yes. I think that's basically it.
As long as we have like a warp core available.
It's sort of a different version of cryostasis.
Okay. So for all we know, and we don't know, this daughter could be 27 years old by now, had we not been biffing her in and out, right? Or is she aging?
No, she's not aging.
Okay, so this could be going on for quite a while, for all we know.
Right. Well, and we know this from the Next Generation episode Relics, where somebody, no spoiler as to who, is in the transporter buffer for like 80 years.
Oh.
And comes out. So.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
But at least she knows, right? That was my big ethical question. She knows that she is having a treatment, let's say waiting for treatment.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I guess if the option is that or dead, you're down with it.
I mean, sure. I mean, I just feel like she should have some sort of agency in terms of when she is winked out of existence.
Yeah, well, that comes to play a little bit later, right? When she finally is like, you get the impression that he might be holding on a little too tight, right? Because when she's playing hopscotch, she says, "I'm having a good time, and you never let me have fun."
Yeah, I mean, there's something weird and tragic about the whole thing.
Yeah, so. I comment later. I hope that they resolve this one pretty soon. I don't like it. I like that we're moving it forward a little bit, but I'm ready for it to get solved.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. So Alora explains who the child is to the senior staff. He's kind of the Dalai Lama of her civilization, chosen at birth to symbolically embody their culture's goodness, and that he has to forswear his own family because everyone on Magellan is his family, whatever that means. Pike is clearly nervous about this possibly being his progeny. I guess I was pretty certain of this, but it didn't turn out that way.
It never even sniffed my way.
So apparently they were on the moon because that's where he has a spiritual retreat. But the other ship attacked them and demanded the child, possibly looking for a ransom. And we find out that, guess what? In 2 days, the kid is going to ascend to the throne, I thought, but it's not the throne.
No.
He's going to ascend to something. So the Enterprise wants to investigate, of course, what's going on here, but the planet wants to handle it internally. But Pike says, hey, we got pew-pewed. I got to look into it. And Alora says, all right, but I'm going to tag along. So in the sickbay, Chapel and Mbenga check out the kid. The caretaker guy wants to do his own medical stuff because apparently the kid has quantum bio implants. Apparently they are wildly more technologically advanced than the Federation, at least medically. And they explain they have no disease of any kind because they've got Ant-Man running around at the quantum level in their blood. And, of course, this intrigues Mbenga, who might be able to save his daughter. So I guess this guy who is the biological father is also the doctor of the kid as well.
That's lucky.
Yeah. So
also,
on the planet,
it goes without saying, but this kid is incredibly cute.
So cute.
Great actor, well-spoken. Handles some pretty dense dialogue really well. And I thought they worked a treat with him.
Yeah, really good casting. So we head to the planet, and La'an and Uhura cut into the wrecked ship looking for survivors. There's a cool couple of shots here, changing the perspective of the camera, and looks like a good wrecked ship, which is a Star Trek tradition, of course. La'an says she failed lesson 3, don't touch anything, because she can't help but press the buttons. Pike, Spock, and Alora come in and continue searching. Spock discovers a little gizmo that Alora doesn't recognize. But she finds an oath coin on the ship, which are only given to their highest level guards, essentially their secret service. And it's all scratched out because you gotta lead into the symbolism.
Yeah, you know what that reminded me of was a certain show we used to watch. Remember they got a picture of a girlfriend and they crossed her eyes out.
Yeah, that was not the best episode of that show.
Yeah, that was a plot that never got resolved.
Nope, because they realized, no, wait, let's do something completely different with this. So, anyway, somebody has turned in the Secret Service. So Pike offers to keep her safe, but foreigners aren't welcome. But then Pike flashes those eyes and says, I'll come just as a friend, you know?
And she was like, oh, yeah, you will.
Yeah. So in Act 2, they fly down to Wakanda. It's a beautiful, advanced society, and they also have a gratitude festival.
I thought that was interesting. Yeah, I thought that was cool.
And it's cities floating in the clouds, which the original series kind of did in season 3. A different story, different episode, but I think borrowed from this, the idea of cities floating in the clouds. So Alora summons the guards, the Secret Service, to see who's turned. On the Enterprise, Spock shows a gizmo to the father guy. It's a neural dampener, and he thinks the attackers probably wanted to use it on the boy.
So does the boy have this? Do they pick a boy at random, or is it like a child that has a specifically high neural zappy zap brain? Is it or is it just kind of? See, that's what is there a specific type of child they're looking for? Or is it just when they run out of juice in the one, they got to go to the next?
They just need a new kid. I'm not sure either, frankly. And I don't know what the neural dampener would be for.
I guess if they got him in the thing and we're like, oh, he can't do it. It can't get him. We might as well
give up. But they're trying to get him out, so he never got hooked up, and it wouldn't work. I'm not sure what the purpose of that was. Somebody smarter than me, write it in the comments below and explain what the purpose of that was.
I feel like he's got to have some sort of exceptional.
Well, he's definitely been bred for this from birth, but whether is the quantum stuff in his blood is the purpose of that to allow him to do this, or does everybody have the quantum goo in the blood?
Yeah.
And if the neural maybe the neural dampener is so that they're being able to track him because of his neurons or whatever, and this was a way to cloak him from their tracking technology by turning his neurons off. I don't know. It was never clear. Perhaps both of us just missed it.
Yeah,
which is entirely possible.
It's happened before.
So the boy teases Spock about how slow their subspace signals are. He's obviously a genius. And we get a little. And there's on IMDb. There's a whole treatise on how the subspace communications as well as warp scale have changed throughout Trek, so that warp 9 in Next Gen would be like warp 14 and whatever.
It's warp inflation.
There's warp inflation. Yes, there's 100% warp inflation as well as subspace inflation. Because we talk about subspace relays all the time because they need to communicate at faster than the speed of light through subspace, and so, but the kids say we just go direct because we're much faster, but they have to do relays so they don't degrade the signal. Anyway, that's all relevant in Voyager and a lot of fun stuff there, but it's not here. Basically, kids real smart. That's what we know. So on the planet, Alora asked the Secret Service to present their coins to try and find the traitor.
I thought this set was really cool. I wish we had spent a little bit more time there. The interior was very cool.
Oh, so cool! And I wonder if this was an actual building in the gardens in Ontario, or whether this internal part was a set. I bet it was part of the gardens. I bet they actually had that. But who knows? So Alora finds one of them has a damaged coin case. It's him! He zaps another guard and makes a run for it. The remaining guards chase him, running in a really odd fashion. Did you notice that they run very strangely?
It's their armor or whatever.
It's their armor, but they're not running fast. They're running very up and down. I feel like he'd probably want to run fast, right?
Great.
So they fight in the hedge maze before Pike tackles him and holds him at phaser point.
See what they didn't attempt was some old school American football, Keith. That's the tactic.
Yeah, you gotta lower the shoulder.
Yeah, you gotta spike it. Boof!
Yeah, well, there it is. Didn't want to mess up his hair.
Oh, that's how you hold the phaser.
Yeah, that's it. If you want to, pew pew the best. If you want to look cool while you're doing it. Because I don't think these phasers have kicks.
Yeah, I don't know if you need the two-hand, but, he looks great. Look, he's got to show where the gun is. He's got to show me where the beach is.
He's got to show the guns, baby! All right. Anyway, that was so stupid. So Alora asks what his deal is, and stupidly gets close enough to him to get grabbed and held at knife point.
Yeah, not great.
For somebody who's so smart tactically, that was really stupid of him.
I guess not if she knew she could jujitsu him and stab him right in the
Well,
heart.
that's the thing. It ends up being nothing because she fights back and a struggle ensues, and of course he's fatally stabbed. Knowing that this was an episode from the 60s, this is a very 60s, we all fall and then the knife fatally stabs immediately the person. It feels very old-timey.
And where he got stabbed isn't necessarily fatal. So
well, you don't know where their bits and bobs are on this
You're
point.
right, but I'm saying what I found to be the most incredulous of all of this action or suspense sequence is that, okay, he tries to kill her, right? Or threatens to kill her, and then she flips the switch and stabs him. But then, and Pike the whole time it's not on stun. He says he could defend her at any time. But this guy then pulls out the knife again, and nobody behaves with any sort of urgency that he might now try to stab her again.
You think maybe drop your weapons might be a part of what's happening there?
Yeah, I don't know what's happening, but
yeah, that whole sequence is a little sloppy, and convenient that they kill him. Yeah. Right, I think a rewrite would be he kills himself. Right, he knows he's trapped. He can't give away the secret. Mm-hmm. As opposed, what is the point in him holding her hostage? He's caught. He needs to keep the thing secret. He should kill himself.
Yeah,
it accomplishes the same thing, right?
Well, this sequence kind of goes into one of my big wormholes later, which I'm going to hold on to. But remind me to put a pin on this.
Okay. So Kirk
Panty soup.
Kirk talks to Uhura in 10 forward, but then La'an, the Kirk's brother, Captain Kirk's brother, talks to her in 10 forward, but La'an runs him off and gives her some chips stolen from the crashed ship. And because she stole them, she can't translate them through the computer. So she tells Uhura to do it. Again, a little bit of a logical question here. Why wouldn't Pike, not being super on top of all of the rules, he'd want to know what's going on. The Magellans wouldn't want them reading the chips, obviously. But I feel if she went to Pike and said hey, we got these, he'd be yeah, run and just keep it on the DL, as opposed to have to do it this way.
Yeah, she's being that's another one that I mean, I get it, but also the logic's within reason. I get there are secretive people or whatever, but it's not this is some huge revelation that they're trying to keep a secret, right? In Temple of Doom, where it's boom, like that. They believe in it. It's the foundation of their whole thing. They believe in it. I don't think they're ostensibly trying to keep it a secret. So I guess they're just trying to. They don't want too much of the information to get into Pike in their hands, because then it might be distributed.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually that's a really good question.
They're so secretive, but for why?
Is it a secret or is it not a secret?
Yeah.
Because she invites Pike to watch it. What are her motivation for inviting Pike to see it? Pike doesn't need to see it.
I mean, I guess it's a technological religion in a way, so I guess it's not flawless, but it's not asymmetrical to use a religious analogy,
sacrifice.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
So, it's kind of, I guess, you'd think the Christian fundamentalists wouldn't want a TLC show made about them, because maybe some deep secrets are going to pop out. But then again, if they believe in it enough, then there's nothing to hide. So
yeah, I mean, I think if they want to keep it secret, they would never have invited Pike in there, unless she's I'm so in love with you, you just sort of need to see this part of me so that we can join the team or whatever. But that didn't quite make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, because
but if it's not a secret, then
I think the ultimate question becomes: is it worth it? Is all of their technical advances?
Well, that's the ethical question of the episode, and which I think is a great question. That's what the most Star Trek-y part of it all. But like, all right, so if it isn't a secret, why don't they say right from the very beginning? Yeah, we've got these separatists, these people who are fighting against what we're doing, and that's who's chasing us.
I'm actually less concerned with their secretiveness. Well, we got to get to it. We're way too early in the plot.
You gotta pick one. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Anyway, so La'an tells Uhura to translate these chips and give up the ghost. So we head to sickbay, and M'Benga asks the Magellans, "Can you help my daughter?" Of course. But the guy says it's illegal unless there was an alliance between our cultures. I guess they're protecting the technology. So Pike walks Alora back home.
Also, another pin. Yeah. Is this guy on the fence or is he a secret agent? Right? Like, does he not know which way is he waffling?
No, I think he's definitely a secret agent. Which begs the question:
why doesn't he just be like, "Yo, this is what's up"?
Yeah, because he doesn't want his son to get liquefied, but maybe he believes in not giving the technology. But it's confusing. But probably here is he doesn't want to give up his cover. Right? If he breaks the law, that gives up his cover.
Yeah, but if he's like, "Hey, could I talk to Pike for a second? Hey, they're gonna goo my son. If you could aid me in our escape here."
Well, yes, but you also don't know if because Pike is about to bone the leader of the other guys, so he doesn't know what Pike's going to do.
That's very fair.
So Pike walks Alora back home. She's startled because the guy betrayed her. They make googly eyes at each other, then she kisses him and invites him in to her bedroom. Cue the harps and set your phasers to bone. So in Act 3, a post-coital Pike and
Mike
Alora...
has the internal struggle of how many nudie screenshots does one take to artfully set the scene but not get thirsty?
Don't get thirsty, Mike. Keep your pants on.
I'm not sure that, I've had enough rendezvous in my life.
I can't wait to hear the end of that sentence.
I'm not sure if I've ever, cutesy snuggled like this post. This is a cutesy snuggle.
That's because you have a cold, dark, broken heart.
Okay, that's fine.
That was so good. Could you go ahead and just give me a little scratch? Give me a little.
Ew.
I'm so cozy.
No. That voice is not allowed for this topic. Nope.
Oh, okay, we're getting comfortable. Come on.
Okay, put your shirt back on. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm never recording another episode on Thursday at 1.
Thirsty Thursdays, baby!
Oh, I don't know what's going on with Mike. I apologize. Keep your shirt on.
You're
like, ooh, there it is.
Looking in your deep eyes. Oh my goodness. You're the one who said set your phasers to bone.
In an adult voice. Jesus Christ.
Come on.
All right. So, anyway.
Get your sweet ass back here.
Okay, that's perfectly appropriate. That's fine. So, he, in his, they talk a while. They giggle and they reminisce. And they talk about the coincidence of meeting again after all these years. And he brings up his tragic future. She says, our doctors might be able to help you, but you'd have to be one of us. Do you want to stay over? Forever? Later, Uhura turns in her homework to La'an. She's learned a lot. La'an says, you should present this to the captain. So, in sickbay, M'Benga brings food to the kid, who has beamed his daughter, Rukia, to play. They're playing hopscotch. And of course, the boy found her. M'Benga says, please don't tell anybody. Again, the odd secrecy about the daughter. What is the problem with him?
Yeah, you all but told the doctor, but now this kid has an opportunity to tell. They could solve the girl right now, but why not?
Well, because they don't want to share their technology, which I understand. Like, because if it turned out you had a miracle cure for everything, the entire universe would descend upon your planet.
God Kid here clearly wants to help the kid. So if he says, "Hey, let's help this one girl," I'm sure Dad would be like, "Cool."
No, but he's not. But that's the trick. He's not in charge. He's not God Kid like he has any power.
Kid. He's just goo.
He's just going to be gooed, not God. Keep that in mind. You got to delete that extra O or add the extra O. All right, so.
Yeah, the extra O's for oh.
On the bridge, Pike is annoyed that
he's cute though. Come on.
He's super cute. Pike is annoyed that he had to beam up to hear Uhura's report. Because he was hoping for round 2. And number 1 says, we needed to do this without your girlfriend overhearing. So she's matched the language in the chips to the neighboring colony. But based on the language roots, the colony is not alien, but actually ancient Magellans. And they ask the question, who would leave paradise? And why? Then the kid and this handler want to head to the surface, and they beam themselves down, but it turns out the boy has been stolen by a combat cruiser that is peacing out. They
clearly were, I think, going back to our wormhole about the brain kit, they clearly were observing them because they knew when they were going to try to beam down, and they were like, this is the time to do the kidnap.
But, okay, this is another part that's confusing to me. But if the father doctor handler is in on it, what doesn't he want to get on the ship and peace out?
Yeah, wouldn't he wanted him to have been escape podded to the...
I guess...
He's not a good double agent, is what I'm saying.
No, he sucks at it. I'm trying to fix this in my head. So I think the idea is they'd never get away from the Enterprise in that other ship. So what he needs to do is buy time by the kid disappear, because I think for them it's a delay game, because in 2 days the other kid will be liquefied, and if they don't plug him in, the whole thing collapses.
I think that fixes it, because I think the plan here is, I think Dad is in on the plan to make it look like he's dead, right? They're going to sacrifice that whole cruiser of people, right? It's in a suicide mission. They're going to get blowed up in order to make it look like kid is dead, and then we can eventually figure out how to tell them and get the kid beamed out.
And also, apparently, the entire planet, like all those cities floating in the sky, are going to crash down.
Yeah,
and kill millions of people.
Yeah.
So it's a kamikaze mission one way or the other. So anyway, they hit the cruiser with a tractor beam, but it's trying to warp out anyway. They try to turn the tractor beam off, but it's too late, and the ship explodes, which I'm guessing now was the plan.
Yes.
Was to make it look like the kid was dead, so they'd stop. Yeah, okay, so that makes sense.
The kid's on the ship!
So in Act 4...
This guy's a great actor, though. As far as secret agents go, he plays the my kid's dead pretty good.
Yeah, no, for sure. So in Act 4, Pike makes the uncomfortable Zoom with his girlfriend, and he's like, bummer, but, no big deal. He was just a symbol, right?
Yeah.
But she's distraught and says...
it's not dead, Keith.
Ew. No.
Come on.
Somebody's gonna take that clip of your facial expressions, and that's gonna make an evening of it. So she says if he doesn't ascend to be their leader, their floating cities will fall onto the surface, which apparently is just lava and acid. She hangs up, and the mystery deepens. He asks how someone was able to beam the boy off the ship, and Uhura points the finger at the boy's handler. She points out the only way they could have beamed out is by having their medical records, which the guy accessed right before they beamed. So Pike says, spill it. Then Spock calls and says, meet me on deck 17, but they don't bother to take the literal 1 minute to get an answer, even though it looked like he was about to explain the whole thing. So like, Mike, Tell me the answer.
There does still...
Wait, hold on. I gotta go somewhere.
There are still problems with this being so used to writing 45-minute episodes, but when you gotta get to that 52 mark, those extra 7 minutes, there's some delay tactics necessary.
Well, they don't have to. They can be 45 if they want.
I'm just trying to explain it.
Yeah, I don't, like, he's literally like,
Well, Spock...
tell me the truth.
Captain.
He's like,
Captain.
So,
Well, he did find the kid who's not blowed up.
I mean,
and
like,
it is pretty big.
it was important, right? But
Yeah.
like, it could have waited another 90 seconds, or at least number one, give me the answer and call me when he gets it.
Or keep me on comm.
Keep me on. Yes, of course. They're gonna just keep the cell phone on speaker. Anyway, so Spock tells Pike that the kid had set up a distress signal, and that he didn't blow up in the ship. He ended up in a cargo pod still on the Enterprise. Weirdly, in the hallway of the Enterprise and not in the cargo bay. Why is the hallway filled with stuff? Are we like hoarders?
Well, a couple episodes ago, we shot all of the cargo stuff out into space, right? Like we had a big
Right,
thing.
but then we fixed it. We went to the station. We fixed everything.
Oh, you're right. Well, maybe there's like their inventory. Nog's doing some inventory.
They're doing some reinvent. Yeah, all right. Well, I don't understand why it's in the middle of the hallway. Anyway, so
yeah, had they just got the doctor to talk 30 seconds ago, we wouldn't have sent the kid back.
Right.
Kid wouldn't have got gooed.
All he needed to do. All right, so like, you be Pike. Ask me what the deal is.
All right, Keith. Why did you try to steal your own kid?
Oh, well, they're about to liquefy him, so he's actually here on the thing, so we just need to save him so he doesn't get liquefied.
Oh, or at least spend some time to like investigate and make sure.
Let's find out before we goo him. Yeah. Oh, that's all it took.
Oh, by the way, you're banging the one lady who can give you all the answers, so if you just like ask her what's up.
Yeah, who apparently it's not a secret because she like lets you in and watch you the whole thing. What's going on here? Anyway, so
I liked this episode a lot more before we started talking about it.
I'm sorry I ruined it. So they send the kid down to the surface to perform the ceremony, and we see everybody celebrate. Everybody's happy. Alora is happy, but Pike, still slow on the draw here. Still has some questions, and he knows his girlfriend is still lying to him. Number one, finally now, hours later, interrogates the boy's handler. He was the one who beamed him into the cargo pod. And he says, I did it to keep him safe. I'm trying to prevent him from performing his duties so I could save him. All of this could have been said like 2 hours ago and we would have saved the kid. And I wrote down, they're going to sacrifice this kid. We got it. So Alora invites Pike into the Ascension room to watch because she wants him to be a part of this for some reason.
Well, some people like it, like to watch.
Them liquefy a child?
You know what? Whatever does your thing. Whatever floats your boat, buddy.
No, that does not apply to everything.
I want you to go in that room and liquefy that kid.
Abort. Abort.
Oh, now you abort?
Get me that panty soup.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, Lord. I'm never going to watch this episode again. It's going to give me nerves. So Alora invites Pike. Oh, yes. So meanwhile, on the ship, we find out that the planet has put shields up and blocked communications. We see the ceremony begin.
It's like the conclave, when they're doing the Pope stuff. You can't go in there.
No, for sure, yeah. But the kid is a little reluctant as they pull out the drained corpse of the last kid.
Which was super cool special effect. Let's get to it.
Super cool.
Pike's like, can I see that thing? And they're like, yeah, no. Well, let me just take a peek. Okay. Let's pull down the curtain.
She just lets him see it
all.
Whoa! I'm like, can you at least take my hand and
what are they gonna do
walk me through this?
with drained kid? He still looks alive.
Oh God, no, he's dead.
Oof.
Well, whatever. So you get those bushes to grow so nicely. So, yeah. So Pike is like, don't do this. And his girlfriend's like, nah, it's all good. So the kid steps into the energy suck chair and it starts sucking his brain out. Pike tries to fight, but is immediately knocked out by a guard. So sorry, kid.
The sci-fi horror of this is great, though.
Oh my god, it looks fantastic, and it is truly horrifying.
And then he's just like,
Now he's like, I'm a battery. Oof, crazy.
the worst is coming up when he's like, well, does he suffer? And she's like, yeah.
Yup. So he wakes up later with Alora, and the ascension is complete. He wants to save the kid, but she says it's too late. Severing the connection will kill him. Turns out,
And all
of
of
course,
us, turns out.
that the Magellan founders built a machine that needs a child's neural network to maintain itself. And they don't even know how it works anymore. So they can't fix it, and yup, the child will suffer. And she points out that the suffering of one child prevents the suffering of all of the others, getting to the main ethical quandary of the episode. He says, I'm going to report this to Starfleet. And she says, so what? You have no jurisdiction here. Which is also true. He beams out, and she cries. Back in the sickbay, Mbenga talks to the boy's handler. He's going to the colony on the other planet, and turns out they were all just trying to save the child, not abduct them. He offers to help Mbenga's kid. He can't cure her, but he does tell him where he can start.
Which is actually huge, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big transition point there.
It's like, here's this. Look, I can't build you the Death Star, but here's the blueprint. And that's,
Right.
you know.
That's where you get, every Death Star starts with a blueprint.
An AutoCAD file.
Exactly. So, lastly, in Pike's quarters, he stands out the window sadly and drinks. And that, folks, is our episode. We have a lot to talk about, sir.
We do.
In the segment we call...
We're working on it, but let's do it this way. I've got a hunch, Keith's got the munchies, but there is no time, 'cause it's time for the punchy! Punch it, Keith.
Isn't it the Punchies?
The punchies? Yeah, the punchies.
Should be the Punchies, right?
I'm working on it. I have the blueprint. I got the blueprint.
Lift me where suffering cannot reach. All right, so let us begin with wormholes in the plot.
Yeah, so my big wormhole is this, and I'm sure we can come up with a solution, but it's still, look, I can buy the secretiveness of the main. You know, they don't want to give away their technology. They're also sucking goo kid brain for battery, so that's like not flattering. You don't put that on your poster. You know, to come visit us. We suck kid brain. You know. Oh my God, why can I not think of that word, Keith? You know, like when you want people to come visit your town. That's called
like tourism.
Tourism, yeah.
Okay,
Ooh.
yes.
See, when you lean backwards, it makes your scale you're like very tiny.
Yeah, but I'm more comfortable.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, I'll be here.
But what I don't understand is why is the secret sect? Why are they secret? Right? Shouldn't they be sending off distress calls everywhere, being like, "Soylent Green is people, come help us rescue the kid. It's kids."
1,000,000%.
That's like my big worm plot. Why are they secret? Like
they literally could have just like called the Enterprise and said, "Here's what's happening. Here's what we're doing."
Yeah, they tease the whole time. Why did this advanced civilization not want to be part of the Federation? Well, there's some pretty good reason, right? They're gooing kid brains. I'm sure that would raise some ethical quandaries.
Usually frowned upon by the Federation.
Their juxtaposition to the way we operate or isn't sound, but I think there's a strong case for the offshoots, the McKee of this world, if you will, to be like, yo, they're frying kids. This is a humanitarian crisis. You know what I mean? And that doesn't happen. So that's a big wormhole in this plot, right? Because the second we do tell them, Pike's like, oh yeah, we got to go help this kid.
Right.
And by that point, it's too late. So
they don't necessarily know that, but like it doesn't change anything that would have happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the Enterprise blew them out of the sky anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So like they might as well tell them, then get blown up, as opposed to not tell them, then get blown up.
So the sort of illogical secret is the wormhole, because I'm going to go to Mbenga too, because I get why he's not announcing the daughter thing, right? Apparently it breaks a bunch of Federation rules, and like he's got a secret warp core drive as like a favor that's keeping her alive. But I understand it at its core level, but if this is your one shot, Keith, if for years you've been searching for somebody with the scientific, and then you're caring for this guy's kid, and this guy's kid now, who is going to be the Dalai Lama, as far as you know, is showing interest in your daughter, you got to take your shot, right? It's Hamilton. This is the time where you got to ask, and he brings it up as a hypothetical, but this is your shot, and just feels like, and then he tells the kid not to tell. It seems secretive for no reason to be secretive.
Yes. The whole thing. I mean, actually, both of those stories, right? Is it a secret? Is it not a secret? Why are we keeping it a secret? All of that is muddy to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so those are my two big wormholes. I'm sure there's some other stuff, but those are the ones that just I couldn't shake, Melora.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the ethical quandary at the center of this episode is clear, right? I totally get it. It's the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, taken to an extreme. It's the pushback against Spock's idea, right?
And it's done well. I don't think that they're seen chewy bad guys, right? Apparently, this is technology. It's like that you know what it harkens to in Deep Space Nine is that episode where half the colony was a fabrication, like an AI generation, and the guy just, for as long as he knew, he was keeping them generated, and they were going in the computer simulation. And it's happened for so long, we just keep going on with it because we know at this point it's the same kind of thing here. We've been doing it this way for so long, we don't even know the origins anymore. We don't know why we have to use a kid. We just know that we can't replace it. We've looked, we can't do it. This is the way it is. So it's about facing sort of generational issues from our forefathers. Look, we know. There's some stuff in the Constitution that maybe we would do different now, but
or like, how do what do you think our country got built on?
Yeah, it's problematic.
Why do we exist?
So all that stuff is good, but there's some, there's a lot of, we laid down a lot of contrivances to get to the big.
Well,
point.
It was a whole bunch of like cat and mouse and this, that, the other thing, none of which really held together or made any sense around a central ethical quandary, which is the interesting part, which is not front-facing in the episode at all. We don't ever really ask the question or debate the question. There's like a couplet of dialogue at the end, as opposed to, we should have found this out. I mean, if this were Next Gen, right, we would have found out that they were going to sacrifice the kid in Act 2. And then we would have had the debate with the other people, the debate amongst ourselves, like, do we intervene? Do we not intervene? And like just have one half of the crew decide, like, we got to save this kid, and the other kid,
and the
like,
question, and then becomes, and they muddy it a little bit, because the reason Pike, who's shown to be quite astute, doesn't ask the questions, the hard-hitting questions. Is it, are we to believe it's because he's horny? Is that what's clouding his judgment? Is it?
No, it's because he jumps straight to, I've got to save the kid and not actually explore this all. And at no point are we faced with a dilemma. And I think that is the problem here. Our heroes are never faced with a dilemma. By the time we find out what's happened, it's already too late. We can't unplug the kid. We can't save him. And so we're not forced into the ethical dilemma, which is about what the episode is about. Why are we... it's almost like the writers were too afraid to really wrestle with that topic. So they made it about a whole bunch of other stuff so that we could ask the question without ever having to try to answer it.
Quick pitch, Keith.
Let's do it.
Open the episode with the last kid getting goose sucked. We start with the ceremony. Watch kid get goose sucked. The whole episode then is the doctor comes to it's kidnap the kid, or the McKee people. That's for lack of a better word. The
People get it.
Prospect 7 kidnap the kid. They're seeking refuge on the ship. They're explaining why this is terrible. Blah 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 blah. Then Pike runs into ex-girlfriend. She explains her side, and like you said, then we spend the episode going back deep debating. Not only that, the kid wants to go do it. The kid is like, this is my sacred duty, and we're trying to save him, but he doesn't want to be saved because he's part. There's more. There's a way to do it. You know?
Yeah. They just they. It's almost like there's 35 minutes of filler in an episode, so that you don't have to actually ask the real questions. And I think that was the. And so, to talk about the wormholes and the logic of all of the like machinations of it almost doesn't make any difference because it's just filler.
Yeah.
Right. It's just filler. It doesn't make any difference. So, all right. So let's move forward to the best moment.
Okay. So here's the positive stuff for me. I think that this is, of all of the Uhura going through all the different like internships, this is the best one. I think. I like her interaction with Noonien and Singh. I like her part in the mystery resolution, or at least her research. I think they're continuing to show her as extremely competent and excelling in all those things. Cool stuff. I also thought the horror chamber, the suck brain, all of that to be like visually stunning, awesome sci-fi horror, just very effective. I thought that was pretty cool. In fact, that was probably my favorite bit of just, I think, visual storytelling. I think it was just very strong, and the kid was so brave, and yet he even had a beat of being like, ooh, maybe I didn't know it was going to look like that. So that was my best moment, I think, is that last little. And I think that I like the idea that they don't shy away from it. This is our ceremony. We're all in. This is how it's done. Yeah. And I thought that was all cool and raised some good questions, some sci-fi questions and ethical quandaries, and I think that was the strongest stuff. Unfortunately, it was the last 3 seconds, So
why did she turn? Like, right, so all the way up to the very end, she's trying to keep the secret from Pike. Right? Trying to keep the secret, and then, I don't know, after they made out, she's like, oh, now let me show you the nitty-gritty horror of this. Like, why? Why did she turn? She could have kept this whole thing.
Or have him give a monologue about, say something that makes her think, oh, he'll understand. I don't know. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
What about you, Keith? What was like your favorite bit?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. I think the emotional, visual, and conceptual horror of that last scene, that stuck with me in a way that the rest of the episode didn't.
Yeah.
And it was visually interesting. It was well acted. It was well shot. It was horror, and it was very Temple of Doom, right?
I also just don't. Going back to wormholes, like the whole his handler, the dad, his. Let's not belabor it. To go back at it, but tracking his agency through it and his decisions and when to keep it, that all goes back to our big wormhole, which was like, why are they keeping that a secret? Let's ask for help. Yeah,
his internal plan, whatever it is, needed to be consistent, and I don't think it was. What's the
timetable? How long between one goo battery? How long does a kid goo battery last? How long have they been plotting this escape for the next kid? Like, all those things could be an interesting Goonies adventure. Anyway, all right. Yeah. Shall we?
All right, let's do it.
Oh, I didn't do the. Oh my God, Mike!
Oh,
it's
Michael,
just,
Michael.
He thought he did, but he didn't.
He didn't.
Here are some samples for you.
All right, Michael.
We got enough of it. I feel like we got enough of it there.
That's good enough.
I know why all that happened. So, next episode you'll hear it.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, he says that now. Sometimes between episodes, the whole computer melts and you have to build a whole new one.
Yeah, don't overclock, buddy.
So, man, I really dug it about an hour ago.
Oh no, I ruined it.
No, it just, I mean, it goes to show that, we can still, I think what I dug was that I feel like the pacing and everybody's kind of settling in. It feels like it's settling in as far as the company, the ensemble, the production. The pacing felt good. I thought that the ticking clock and the stakes all felt pretty decent throughout the episode. So that's, the problems are just that when it's not the best episodes, we remember the question and we remember the debate, as what you so astutely brought up. I want to give you a chance to really chew on this one, because I always talk for so long. But I'll say that here, the question is great. We often have this complaint, and have had it a lot with this show so far. The question is great. Just the confidence that they garnered last week seems to have gone. Like they really wanted to. It was almost like they were saving it, right? They sacrificed, to stay on brand, they sacrificed the debate for the shock horror value of the last scene, right? Mm-hmm. We have to keep that. We have to keep it close to the vest so that when we show you the gooing of the kid, that really blows your mind. And I think it's weaker for it.
They didn't trust that it was going to be shocking either way. Mm-hmm. Like, if we'd already had the debate, then we see it. Mm-hmm. It's every bit still as shocking. Yeah. Like, it was almost like they thought it was going to be a bigger surprise than it was. It really wasn't that surprising.
Also, there's some sci-fi concepts here that would have been awesome to explore. We had all this episode and we didn't do. Like, your whole planet falls into lava if you don't goo a child brain? Like, just tossing it off as we don't know how it works. Well, it's just always been this way. I think the better episode if we know how it works, and you have to do it this way. then we have something really chat about, right? There's no exploration into the interesting,
or like the emotional impact it has on a society to know that you're doing that. Do
they know?
I think they do.
We don't know that though, Keith. That's the other part.
I mean, the societal trauma of having to do that.
That'd be great. I'd love to know. We're having a big celebration, but do they know what happens when he goes in that chamber? Because they ain't letting anybody in. I didn't see any cameras. You know what I mean? So maybe it is. If it's a secret they're keeping from their society, that's really interesting too.
That would be right. Either one of those would have been an interesting thing to explore, I think.
But we often let a lot of Deep Space Nine. We let a lot of times we gloss over the fact that, hey, this would be a great episode if, but
right.
But it's not the if, right? It's not, and we have to. Not. It has to. I will also say this: I like that we've moved the Mbenga daughter story forward a little bit.
A little bit, because I don't know that there's much more we can drain from it. I'm like, oh my god, is this growing old? I feel like it's growing old now. It's only the second episode, but I don't think we moved it forward at all. Really?
Well, he's very smart, so he's got.
But he said, like, hey, here's the thing to start.
It's not a cure.
We don't know what that thing is.
Yeah.
Like, it's just technobabble.
That felt like dad reaching out to dad, like, oh, now that my kid's dead, maybe I'll help you out. Like, yeah, look, it's not great. I didn't find it to be as, what was the one? What was like 2 episodes ago? What was the one? Not Smock Amok we really liked. What was the one prior to that?
You mean Ghosts of Illyria is probably the one that you're
that's the one where I was like...
Where they all wanted to bang the light.
Yeah, so where did I let that settle?
You hit that at a 66.
Okay, so I'm going to go... I think it's better than that. Maybe it's not actually story-wise, but I just felt like the whole piece, the package still... I was more satisfied as far as like a viewing experience. Not under super scrutiny, so I'm going to go bump it a little bit and say 72 self-sealing stem bolts.
72. Yeah, it's interesting because I had the sort of same experience that you did, right? Where I think when I first watched it, I liked it better than when I really thought about it. Mm-hmm. And I think I think it's been shedding stem bolts as we've been talking about it for me as well. The essential question of it, the essential premise, is classic Star Trek. It's great. It's like, what are we willing to sacrifice for peace, for good, for prosperity, for whatever, needs of the many versus the needs of the few. All great. I like the fact that they were bold enough to like lead into the horror at the end and not sort of soft pedal that. That felt contemporary and refreshing and exciting. But and I'm not going to belabor it either. Like the whole rest of it just doesn't address the interesting thing about it. But it tried to replace it with all sorts of like, palace intrigue and spies and spycraft and, hiding the hide the kid, save the kid, pew pew, sacrifice yourself, blah, blah, blah. It ended up all just being a mess that doesn't really have its own internal logic or really get to anything. I didn't understand why Pike was so weakened by his googly eyes for this lady. He kind of just like, he was like, oh, flutter, flutter, that he sort of lost his, like, it didn't feel like he had any of his strength or character. He just like, oh, boobies. And believe me, I get it. I feel the same way, but like, I'm not the captain of the Enterprise. So, yeah. So I don't know. Like, I think we've addressed all of it.
Do you know that if Uhura had not kind of translated the message, none of our crew, nobody in our main cast would have had any agency in the procedure of this plot. We would have been bystanders for the whole thing. We did nothing. We didn't do anything.
Yeah, we really didn't. And that
I guess Spock
also
triangulated to find the kid, maybe we could say, but outside of her, but really nobody did anything.
Well, right, and we easily could have made the episode about that too. Like, why aren't we doing anything? Well, we can't for this reason and this reason and this reason. Whether it's the prime directive, we can't, or somebody's making the argument. Well, look, yes, they are sacrificing this kid, but they're also pulling millions out of poverty, and like 10,000 kids won't die because of this. So that maybe there's a point to be made for this. It's worth it.
No, we find out Starfleet has known about it, but there's like an appeasement situation. There's so many things we could have done.
Or like, we'll turn the blind eye so we get some of this technology that can save blah, 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 whether it's on an individual level or on a Starfleet level. There's so many different stories there that they just chose not to tell. And I wish that they had. So at the end of the day, as we're shedding stem bolts, as we're talking, I'm going to come in at 67 self-sealing stem bolts. It's so easy to get
high.
sucked in.
I'm going down to 69.
69. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like it's easy to get sucked into. It's so beautiful to look at. The acting is so good. The production is so great. If you just have to like turn that off and think through the actual episode, and it's not very successful, and it feels antiquated in its sort of logic, and that I think that's because it's based on an episode that's 50 something years old.
Yeah, but doesn't mean you have to use it verbatim. Like, take the idea from it and explore.
Yeah, I think they took too much. I think that's exactly it. I think they took too much. All right. So
speaking of having too much of something.
Speaking of it, Mike, tell us what we're doing too much of.
Keith, we also watch, let me tell you what's having a lot of confidence right now, and that is Season 3 of Deep Space Nine, moving towards Season 4. I just love every week reading the people commenting saying, Mike, it's so funny, Mike has no idea what he's in store for. And I don't.
Every week.
And I'm here for it, and I'm loving it. You can join us every Wednesday. Keith and Mike watch Deep Space Nine and talk about it for 2 hours, or you can watch me on the Patreon, patreon.com/KNM, watching it week to week. I thank those who do, and I look forward to more joining the team. On Mondays, Keith and I talk about stuff on K&M Geekly, and this week I forced him to watch with me and broadcast live. Join us Sunday at 12:45 for 15 minutes of pre-talk until the 1 o'clock start of the Xbox Summer Games Showcase. We're going to watch it live and talk all over it, so maybe watch it on a rerun if you don't want to hear us talk over it. But we're going to see if I can get Keith psyched about some upcoming games on Xbox. We did the whole series of David E. Kelly's The Practice, all 8 seasons. You can check that out. It's on YouTube, but it's mostly on your podcast feed. Strange New Show drops on Saturdays. And of course, we are still talking about Star Trek toys. We did the Borg Cube last week, and this week we got some customs for you. Check us out. Join us. Help us patreon.com/K&M, or leave us a tip below, or just comment, tell a friend, listen to us on the podcast, and leave us a ranking on your podcast feed of choice.
Very well done,
Thank you.
Mr. Indeglio. We will see you back next week with the Serene Squall. No idea what that means. It's really fun to have absolutely no idea
is
what's
cool.
coming.
It is cool.
I get to be Mike this show. Super fun. Wow. Well, folks, thank you so much for watching. That is the sound of Mike putting his shirt back on. Till then, this has been Strange New Show. Keith and Mike watch Star Trek Strange New World. Thank you for watching K&M Entertainment. If you enjoyed our particular brand of nonsense, please like and subscribe. Or become one of our patrons at patreon.com/KNM.